Hi guys, it's Miss Simon. So I wanted to make this video today to help you guys out with science. So sometimes for your science and social studies lessons, you're not going to have, for the most part, a live Zoom. So this week especially, all of your lessons for science are going to be recorded, okay? So we're gonna kind of get in the habit of that, and I'll tell you guys what you have to do and how that's going to work. So you need to make sure that you have a science notebook. So as part of your remote supplies, I suggested that you get 5 notebooks so you have enough for every subject. So you're gonna wanna have one of those notebooks be your science notebook, okay? So if you do not have your science notebook, you need to go and get it now, okay? So I would go ahead and pause the video and go and get that notebook, okay? You are going to be taking notes. A lot of science is notes, and you need to be taking them because you're going to be able to use your notes to complete different assignments, and whenever you have tests and quizzes, you'll be allowed to use your notes. So it is important that you have a notebook and are taking notes when I tell you to do so. All right, so let me share my screen with you, and we're going to kind of talk about what we're going to be doing for this first unit in science. So we're going to be talking about matter, okay? And today we're just going to kind of introduce matter and what it is and what it's made up of, okay? So I want us to kind of first brainstorm what you think matter is. And how this is going to work is anything that I highlight needs to be written down in your notes, okay? So I would start and put this at the top of your page because it's kind of what this whole unit is about. So at the top of your page, go ahead and put what is matter. And at any time, if I'm talking and you're still writing, you can pause the video and kind of go back to it. So let's first discuss what is matter. So I want you guys to think about it, okay? Look around your room at your house, and what objects in the room do you think would be called matter? I'm sure you've heard the word matter before, okay, but maybe you're not really sure what it is. So I want you to take a few seconds, just look around your room, whatever room of the house you're in, and what object in this room do you think would be called matter? Okay, so this is probably the easiest questions that you're ever going to have to answer in school, okay? Everything is matter. All the stuff that you just named is matter. Everything that is around you is matter. So when I like to think of matter, I like to think of everything. I say everything matters, okay? Because everything around you, no matter how big or no matter how small, is going to be matter. So this is what you're gonna have to write down. Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass and weight. Simply put, every object in the entire universe is matter, okay? So it's anything that takes up space and has mass and weight, okay? But it's everything, okay? And we can kind of see here that there's bunches of examples. So cars, flowers, dolphins, those are all examples of matter, okay? I'm sure you could look at the table around you, all right? Your pencil that you're writing with right now is matter, okay? It has space, and if you were to weigh it, it has weight and it takes up space, okay? We also have maybe your water bottle. Your water bottle has weight and it takes up space, okay? So everything in the world is matter. So go ahead and make sure, remember everything that I highlight, you guys need to be putting down in your notes. So matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, so everything in the universe. So what makes up matter? Okay, so if we look at this picture here, okay, we see a book. So if we describe a book, all right, it's made of paper, it's made of pages, it has a cover, it has a back cover, okay? So, but those pieces are even smaller than just those pages and everything, okay? So they're made of even smaller things that we call particles, and they're too small to see even under microscopes, okay? So even though we have paper and pages and a cover, there's all these little particles stuck together that are even making up this book as well. So all matter is made of very small particles, okay? You're gonna need to write this down. All matter is made of very small particles, okay? Particles are kind of very, very small dots that are too small to see even under a microscope, okay? So if we look at this Lego, for example, okay? Although these particles are incredibly small, they still take up space and have weight, even if the amount of space and weight is practically nothing. So even particles are matter as well. So matter is made up of small particles. So we can think of each particle as a single Lego block, okay? Because I know many of you have built Legos before, okay? So if we think of all the Lego pieces that you have to put together to create your creation, okay, to kind of make that end product, all of those Legos can be thought of as particles, okay? Just like this pencil. This pencil is filled with little particles that make up this whole entire pencil, okay? And everything is. You are matter as well. So everything, you are made of individual little particles that make up you. So all matter is made of very small particles. While a single book on its own isn't very large and doesn't look like much, attaching many blocks together can make some pretty amazing things, okay? So a single block, if we look at these single block of Legos, they look like nothing on their own, but when you put them together, they create an amazing work of art, okay? So if we think of it as a Lego, we put all those particles together and then we create bigger matter. So particles are the building block of all matter, but we are unable to see them with a naked eye, okay? So we need to write that down. Particles are the building block of all matter, but we're unable to see them with the naked eye, okay? So when we look at these different objects, we don't see the particles, okay? So if we look at these, it looks like these are aluminum poles, okay? We don't see the particles in there, but they're there. They're little dots right on top of each other that are pushed together to make this aluminum, okay? If we look at this hand, for example, okay? We don't see those particles, but the particles are there. These fingers are made up of all these small particles that we put them together and they make a hand, okay? Same with this flower, something as small as a flower and something with as big as a desert, okay? It's made of all the little sand particles put together to create that bigger desert, okay? So even though we are unable to see them, okay, the particles are there. They are the building block of all matter. All right, so matter is made of small particles that cannot be individually seen. When many of these pieces combine together, they form the objects that surround us in our everyday life. While most of these objects can be seen, some examples of matter still remain invisible. How do we know there's matter inside these water bottles and balloons, okay? So a lot of things, a lot of matter are things that we see every day, okay? If we look at this pencil, we can see this, okay? We see it taking up space, okay? We know it's there, so we know it's matter. This phone, we see it has weight. We know it weighs something. We see it take up space, so we know it's matter. But matter doesn't have to be seen, okay? If we look at a balloon, okay, for it to be a balloon, okay, you have to blow it up and then it becomes a balloon, okay? So what did you have to do to that when you blew up that balloon? What was inside of it? Air. Air was inside of it. You can't see air. Air is all around you, but air is still matter, okay? Same with these water bottles, okay? The water bottles, when they're empty inside, they don't just fall in on themselves, okay? Air is holding them together, okay? So even though we don't see air, air is still an example of matter, okay? It's invisible, but it's still matter. So go ahead and write that down, okay? Invisible matter. While most of these objects can be seen, some examples of matter still remain invisible. So air is a big one that's invisible that is still matter, okay? So air, as we know, is a gas, okay? So air would be the gas form that is still matter. And any gases around us are going to be matter. All right, moving on. Make sure you have that in your notes. All right, so now we're gonna do some questions, okay? So I want you guys to try and answer these on your own. I'll give you a couple seconds before we go over the answer. So which of the following is an example of matter? Remember, everything is matter. So is it gonna be a car, a laptop, air, or all of the above? So if you answered all of the above, you are correct, okay? Some of you might have thought to say air, but remember, air is even matter, even if you can't see it, because it still takes up space and it has mass. All matter is visible, meaning all matter you can see, true or false. Okay, well, that one we just went over. That's going to be false, okay? Because air all around us, we don't necessarily see it, but we know it's still matter. Okay, number 3. All matter is made up of many particles that are too small to be seen. Okay, this one is going to be true. Remember, we talked about those very, very small particles put on top of each other is what makes all types of matter. So this is going to be true. Okay, which of the following is true of all matter? Choose all that apply. Okay, so which is true of all matter? It has weight, it can be seen, it takes up space, it's colored, it's always a solid. Okay, well, we know matter doesn't have to be seen, so it's not going to be B. Matter doesn't have to be colored because air is not colored, and it's not always solid because air is a gas. So the only two that are going to make sense for these are going to be A and C. All matter has weight and takes up space. All right, so now that we know that matter is, we need to figure out how we can measure it, okay? And there's two things that we use to measure matter, okay? Mass and volume, okay? Matter is measured in terms of mass and volume, okay? Mass is the measure of how much matter is in an object. Mass is often thought of as weight and is measured using a scale. Okay, so when we think of mass, we often think of weight and we use it for a scale. Okay, so sometimes when you guys go to the doctor, okay, you get on the scale and they weigh you, they're seeing your mass, they're seeing how much matter is inside of you. Okay, they're taking your weight. Okay, so mass is how much matter is in an object, and we use scales. So make sure you have that written down. Remember, you can always pause this video if you do not have time to write it down, okay? And then play it when you're finished. And the second thing we use to measure matter besides mass is volume. Volume is the amount of space an object takes up, okay? It's measured in many different units and it's measured using different tools, okay? Make sure you write that down. If we look at this is what we call graduated cylinders. Usually we see this being used to measure liquids, okay? Volume, you can also think of other things like in your kitchen that you use to measure liquids, like a measuring cup, okay? So a measuring cup is also something you use to measure volume. So it's the amount of space something is taking up. Because remember, when we talk about matter, it has mass and it takes up space, okay? So we have measuring it using mass and volume. All right, make sure you have those written down. All right, so that is where we are going to end for today, and we'll pick up at that next slide tomorrow, okay? So after you've written all those things that I highlighted down in your notes, okay, you need to go ahead and complete the Google form assignments that is on the next step of this assignment. Okay, when you are finished with that Google form, then you will submit it and hit that turn in button, and that's where you will get your points for today. Okay, all of these assignments are due at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, okay, just like any homework assignment that you would be getting if you were sitting in the classroom. So hopefully this video was helpful. Please make sure you wrote those highlighted things down in your notes, and you can use those notes to help you answer those Google form questions. All right, have a great day. See you soon.